everybody. Welcome to Teensy Vintage. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Teresa. I'm going to show you some gel plate prints that I'm making on old book pages and some library book cards. Those of you old enough to remember might remember when you went to the library, you had to pull out a card and sign it, and you'd get um, a due date stamped inside, and you bring your book back to the library. Well, anyway, you can buy those cards in bulk on Amazon now, and I use them as things to print on. So we're starting off with the book pages. These are from an old book about aluminum. So this book was literally just full of tables of numbers. It's pretty fantastic. I found it at um, I think a Half Price Books or something, or maybe it was a thrift store. I don't remember. But it was like, oh, gee, I wonder why nobody wanted this crazy book. Well, I wanted it. So I'm using some board game piece holders. You know, when you get a new board game, they come with all the little pieces that you have to punch out. Well, the remaining structure, those things make great pieces to press on your plate. And look at these gorgeous polka dots. So that is just from a game. So if you know somebody who got a new board game or you have a new board game, save the structure that all the little cardboard pieces come in and you can use it on your gel plate. So yeah, this is just going to be a good old session here. When I get stressed out, this is something I like to do. For me, making prints is just really therapeutic. And the world is a kind of a stressful place right now. So yeah, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go up in the studio and make some prints. What I'm doing right now is laying down a lot of the base layer, I guess, because I will come back in with those prints and add more with different colors. So this is basically just me playing. I'm going to use some bubble wrap here. Tiny bubble wrap makes great texture as well. And when you put the print down on top of it, you get this cool effect of grungy dots along with whatever color you had underneath. Also, when you're using your gel plate, you don't have to use the whole plate. You can just pick up a little piece of it, or you can let your paint dry a little bit, and then it will pick up some parts of the paint and not others. If you're into the grungy look, a gel plate is going to be amazing. And like this piece right here, got some really good grungy love on that piece. And we'll take one of those library cards and pick up some of the remaining color. A lot of people call it the ghost print, the second print. But I'm just using second prints, third prints. Um, at one point, I'm just going to use a color to pick up all the stuff that's left on the plate. But that's near the end of the video. And of course, at the end, I will show you all of the prints that I made. This one came out really cool. This one is really grungy too. You can see some of that Payne's gray on there. It's the little bit of pink or red that was on there before. Um, Now, when you're doing paint, acrylic paint, there are many different kinds of acrylic paint. Honestly, I find that for this process, it's really good idea to use craft paint or the beginners type paints. They tend to be a little better on this surface than your fancy acrylic paints. So if I were you, I would stick to, your Dilutions paint or your Dina Wakley paints, the Deco Art paints, anything that's called, like a student level acrylic is going to be great. And many of them will kind of be transparent. Some will be a little more opaque. Like this pink is a little more opaque. Um, I have several different yellows, for example, and some of them are really transparent and some are opaque. Some are a deeper yellow than others. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, like I said, play around. That's another good thing about these sessions is that I am literally getting to see, oh, that tube of paint will make this kind of print. Or I want to use this color first and not last, or, whatever. Um, there's there's no grades here. Nobody is going to be critiquing your gel plate print. And if they are, well, maybe they need to get out more. Okay, so that said, I am really loving how these very colorful cards are turning out. The circles, especially. I kind of kept it simple. I only used the two punch boards from the board games and the bubble wrap page. And I find that the more you use a sheet of bubble wrap, the grungier it gets. So it's pretty cool. If you're using a really transparent yellow, it can look really cool over a blue or a red. It'll, since they're all primary colors, they will create that secondary color. If you have paint left on your plate, like right here, it will pick up the other color as well. So let's put the board game piece down to make some squares. And I'm using that plain piece of cardboard just to make sure I get a really even um, press. And I'm going to use my brayer here too, because you know what? This paper is vintage and old, and I found out it was just easier to, gently use the brayer than me try to move my palm around on my fingers. Um, okay, here I poured out a little too much. That happens sometimes. You don't want a whole lot of paint on your plate. You just need a little bit. A little goes a long way with that brayer. So I just scooped it onto another card and you'll see me use it again in the very near future here. So we're going to add some blue, put our bubble wrap down. Here's an old page from a vintage math book. And look at that. I got a nice blue print with some grungy red bits. And here's some more. Yeah, very cool. The brayer just really makes a beautiful, even application. All right, so now I'm putting the rest of that blue paint down that I, squeezed out too much earlier. So nothing's going to waste here. And that piece of cardboard actually came from a calendar. When you buy a calendar, it usually has a lightweight piece of cardboard in it that, keeps the calendar from bending. So those are good things to save at the beginning of the year because you can use them for all kinds of stuff. Look at those fabulous, fabulous polka dots. Love it. Here I'm just going to kind of pick up any little bits left. Some of these cards turn out to be kind of a mix of little bits and pieces that I pick up here and there, and not necessarily like a full, you know, plate pull. Um, there's some yellow with dots, so the blue dots are still kind of there. This will pick up those too. That's the really cool thing about the gel plate is that it will pick up everything if you apply a layer of fresh paint on top. So this yellow, very translucent, and I'm okay with that. And we're just going to put it down and see what we get. We get a very light application there. And I'm going to just go in with this card and get little spots that I didn't get. Any white space. All right, we're going to put those to the side. And we're going to put down new color, this time a bright red. Woo! I'm not even using the whole plate on this particular one, and I'm just going to use the size that looks like the card. Now you can see here, I put the card down first, and that's just going to give me a plain pink background. But then I put down the bubble wrap, and now I've got a bubble wrap pattern. And I'm going to use a little bit here and there on some cards that already have colors and patterns on them. So you don't have to, pull up a card or a page every time. You can literally just use a little bit here and there. All right, here's some more yellow. And I'm just putting up a little bit here because I wanted to get some yellow on this card because it kind of had some white area in the middle and I wanted to put yellow on there to really make it pop. And it pops. This is a deep yellow, more of a leaning towards gold than lemon. We're going to use our game board piece again. Put some nice squares on the surface, and we're going to lay down some library cards here. There we go. It's not only picking up that yellow, but it's going to pick up the pink. and it's going to kind of turn orange because yellow and pink make orange. This is turning out really well. Getting all kinds of cool patterns, textures, and you might be asking yourself, well, what the heck do you do with all these prints after you're done? That's a great question. What I like to do is use them as the base for other projects. Either I'll make a card out of them and I will add more colors or um, a focal point on top, or I will run them through my die cut machine and cut out shapes in various, sizes and styles, and they will be in those colors. And you can get a really unique looking piece out of the die cut machine using one of these cards or pages. You can also tear them or cut them and use them in your junk journal, in your art journal, whatever you want to do. They're just really cool to have as, kind of ready to go background pieces or collage fodder pieces, whatever you want to do with them. And they're really bright and colorful, and they're all different. So none of them are alike. They've all got a little something different going on, and you can kind of look at them later and be like, "Ooh, this corner is perfect for what I'm working on." And you can rip that corner off and use it. Or like I said, you could put a die on top of it and run it through your machine and cut out that shape. Make circles. You could use punches to make whatever, shape the punches, circles, squares, stars, whatever, and glue those onto your designs as well. It's a lot of fun just to use primary colors too. You can make your rainbow of colors with blue, red, and yellow. You can also get your oranges and greens and purples and just print directly the color you want. And some colors, like I said, you'll get a really beautiful translucent color, or it'll be really opaque and it will cover up something else. So you can do layer on layer. And I'll also say too, the page over on the right where I'm kind of rolling off the excess color, sometimes I've used those in my junk journals too. You need a field of color or something, with a little bit of text on it. Yeah, that'd be really cool as well. That's a nice thing about using old book pages is the text will show through and you can kind of get yet another textural piece. Haha, text is textural, um, to use in your work. And here I've just got some straight up dots, and we're just adding those to some of these yellow green cards. Um, pink and green, they're contrasting colors. They go really well together. And I've still got quite a few on here. So I'm going to add some blue paint on top and make some more cards. And here I'm just pressing little pieces, little corners, edges, things like that, where I want to have some blue on these cards. And you end up with these really cool multicolor pieces that are very organic looking and all unique. Here we're just using a straight up pink. This one's a little more opaque, so it's going to leave more color. If you put it down a blank page, you'll just get good old blue and pink. Whatever's on the gel plate will come up if the paint is wet. Now, if your paint dries on your plate, that's okay. Just apply another layer of wet paint on top, put down your page or your card, and it will pull up everything. They do make gel plate cleaner, which you can use if you want to, but honestly, you can clean your plate off just by adding another layer of paint and then pulling off a print. Who knows, you might get something really cool. Um, Here we're gonna just do some purple. I think that's a Dina Wakley paint. And use our friend. We're only putting it on half. And then I'm just gonna use a piece of paper to try to pull up some of this color because I want to make it grungy. So I wanted to leave some purple on the plate. I'm gonna add a little more and add some bubble wrap. So now I've got grunginess plus texture and you can get some really cool prints off of this. And I'm just using whatever cards I have over there on the side. There's a book page. I'm adding some purple to that. Now here, the paint had started to dry, so it wasn't coming up anymore. Now I'm going to add some blue paint. Bring that in. And I'm going to add blue to these cards, but just in certain little spaces. I'm only pressing down very small parts of the card to pick up the blue paint um, where I want it to be. Yeah, you don't have to lay down the card or the page completely every time, unless you want to. That's fine too. All right, so now I'm pulling off a big plate. This is the end. This was a use it up page, and I said, you know what? We're just gonna put some light yellow down, and the page will pick up all of the grunge. And it did. So now I've got all these really cool textured pages in a variety of colors and combinations, as well as all these little library cards that I can use in future projects. And I had a good time with good stress relief. Thanks for watching, Elle. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all next time.